Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics live show. We're recording live on Sunday, 9th of December. And guess what, boys? It is the final podcast that we have to record before we get some pracky games. And safe to say, I've been going crazy. Oh, don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying writing the notes each day for people on Twitter and that, but I want to be writing notes about actual games.
December. You want to be writing notes about December? Do you know you said the date was December?
Did I?
Yeah, I'm sure it was a Freudian slip, mate. No big deal. But just thought I'd address it in case people thought they were on the wrong pod.
So what? So I said 9th of December.
Oh, yeah, mate. You're 2 months ago.
Unbelievable. Well, this will be clipped up. I'm going to have to clip myself up now. Anyway, it is the 9th of February. That's where, and we've got practice games next week, but I think you'll do that. I'm just an idiot. Anyway, welcome everyone to that's completely throwing me now. But anyway, welcome everyone. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. You might not want to follow me now because I can't get dates right clearly. But obviously tonight we're going to be talking about plenty of track notes and track watching from the past week. So plenty of news and potential sort of role change and everything we'll chat about. So really looking forward to chatting through all of that as well. And if you're listening back to the podcast, well, come join us live next time live on YouTube. There every Sunday night as well. So make sure you guys head over there. And also, just a big shout out to all the legends out there. Thank you very much to the 3,000 of you. We hit the 3,000 subscribe mark on YouTube. So thank you very much, everyone that has subscribed. But we're not stopping there. 4K Club is the next goal, 4,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. We have content daily throughout the AFL fantasy season. But joining me tonight, we've got a full panel here tonight, which is good. First one for 2025. We'll go around the room, but starting off with my co-host and fellow AFL Fantasy Fanatic for the longest, it is Tim. Mate, how are you?
Mate, I'm good. Just finished up with the kids, just sent them back to their mum. So, I'm a bit exhausted. I might fall asleep while during the pod, mate. But no, keen to wrap up, get all the training notes. You feel like you kind of feeling good about your team, and then you get to see a few notes come through. And of course, we've got all the pracky match starting this week, so it's going to throw even more turmoil up. But yeah, getting into this is the really exciting time of the season, so I'm pretty happy, mate.
Yep, exactly. Can't wait. Jumping over to another co-host, it is someone wearing a coach panel hat, looking very, very nice. It is Jordox, mate. Jordox, how are you?
Good, mate. Yeah, good to see you, boys. First full panel of the year, and yeah, we are in February now, Bales, and yeah, it's getting closer. It's getting closer. You can almost feel it in the air. So really excited to see these pracky matches, and then in the next few weeks, our sides should really start to take their final form.
Yep, exactly right. Looking forward to it. And also our other co-host and fellow AFL Fantasy Fanatic is Jade Poposky. Jade, mate, how are you?
Hello, Bales. Hello, guys. Good to be on. A few weeks off, but yeah, back, and I think it's a good one to be back for. So glad to be here.
Yep, exactly. Now, plenty to discuss. We're going to get stuck into all of that. But before we do, Tim, just a bit of an update, a few Infinite Wealth updates for the listeners.
Yeah. So we just really decided to shake things up this last year. I think this year. Last year, we pretty much had offered, I guess, a similar version of what I'd offered in the past. So I wanted to really do something different. I know over the past few years, I guess the information that I've been offering out there is a lot to do with investment strategies, which might not necessarily suit everyone, right? We also talked about teaching people how to pay their mortgage off up to 3 times faster. And certainly I know everyone that's playing fantasy doesn't necessarily have a mortgage. So I really went to work at the end of last year, and I created a whole program around mastering your money and learning everything from how to balance your buckets to how to create a budget to, how to secure bank accounts without paying a single cent, how to kind of distribute your money and how to know how much you should be allocating to different parts of your budget. So essentially, I created a program called Master Your Money, and it's something that Infinite Wealth is going to offer once again to every AFL fantasy coach out there. But to make it a little bit more exciting, and of course, Infinite Wealth is sponsoring the Content Creators Cup. Bales and I were having a bit of a chat, and we're talking about how we could maybe spice the Content Creators Cup up a little bit this year. And firstly, there's been a few changes with coaches, and we won't talk about the coaches just yet. We'll do that maybe over the next 4 weeks as we get closer to the season. But one thing we have been able to do is free up a spot in the Content Creators Cup, and we're actually going to make it available to one lucky listener out there. So for everyone out there, whether or not you want to get onto the Master Your Money program, get along to the website www.infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy. I've had my team working on it today, so that it should be all be firing now. But if you get in and you register for the Master Your Money program, you will go in the draw to be that one lucky coach that will be in with 19 other content creators, and you'll be able to, I guess, show your wares up against some of the best known content creators out there, and give us an opportunity to see whether you can beat us, or how many of us you can beat, or you can beat your favourite one. That's for sure. Now, obviously, this is something that's got to get sorted by the start of the season. So, obviously, we don't need to worry about opening round, but with round one, we're going to make sure that we draw this on the 10th of March. So that essentially gives people 4 weeks as of today to get their entry in. So, like I said, head along to www.infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy to sign up for the Master Your Money program, which is awesome in itself, but of course to get your opportunity to be the final coach in the Content Creators Cup for the year. Bales, what do you reckon about that? That's pretty exciting, hey?
Yeah, very exciting. Another team for me to beat. No, I'm joking. No. I'm a 50-50 strike rate in terms of going well and not going so well. So this year could be anything. 2 years ago was bad. Last year was good, but we'll see how we go. But obviously, you can guarantee us four, obviously on the podcast now, we're going to be in the Content Creators Cup. And yeah, we'll be releasing, as well as you said, who's going to be in the Content Creators Cup over the next couple of weeks. So no, really looking forward to it. And yeah, I can't wait to get started as well. We do have another announcement as well. We'll do that a little bit later in the show as well. So yeah, make sure you guys get involved with the Infinite Wealth there as well. And I'll pop the link in the description once the video is done as well, so you guys don't have to go anywhere. Either that or the podcast, and you guys will just be able to click that, and that'll be all good to go. So cool. Alrighty. Well, I reckon we'll get started with these track watching notes. So we'll go quickly over 18 clubs. We're not going to stop on too many players. If you guys do have a question or player discussed, please put it in the comments, because we're going to be having a big sort of bit at the end to be answering a heap of your questions. So put them in the comments and I'll be able to scan through them when we finish with the track watching. But also I want to do a big thanks to every journo and track watcher that I've tagged in the notes on Twitter. So thank you to everyone that's gone down to track watch, because if you guys didn't do that, we wouldn't have the content to be talking about. So very much appreciate everyone going down there. So we'll start off going by club, and we'll start off with our Adelaide mine and Jordox's Adelaide Crows. So a few relevant names here. So we got a James Peatling and Isaac Rankin. Both were very strong in the preseason. Matt Sim just a few days ago playing predominantly midfield, which is obviously good for Peatling as a cheaper guy, and also Rankin. Dan Curtin impressed in Matt Sim as well. Looked to be a bit more of a forward role with some midfield time compared to more of a split. So that'll be something to note. The one I want to chat about, though, is Isaac Cumming. So Isaac Cumming has been training on a wing, and it's pretty much hasn't been much talk about half back for the last couple of weeks. So, Jaiden, for you, is that if Isaac Cumming is playing off the wing, is that probably a fade a bit more for you now, just because we've got a couple of guys that are in and around that price, tiny bit cheaper and then a bit more expensive?
Yeah, I'll present both sides here. So if you're going to be a winger, you want to be on Adelaide. The reason is Adelaide generate a lot of throw-ins. So if you're a winger, you're around the ball quite a lot. And they've done that for a few years now. And even Lockie Scholl finally got on the end of it last year with a very good average. So if you are a winger, you want to be on Adelaide. The issue is, I think for Cumming, for him to get those good scores, he has to be on the kick-ins. I would probably want him to go 90 based on a lot of the other options, or maybe a bit less than that, a lot of the options. And for him to do that in 2022, he was averaging 20 points, 21 points off kick-ins, and hasn't got close to that since. So I think, yeah, for that option, I would want to see some kick-ins.
Yeah, exactly. I think I agree as well, especially with a couple of other options which will be mentioned here as well.
That for a second, right? It's priced at 50. And Jaiden, I mean, this is a question. I don't want to get an understanding. You're sort of saying he's got to go, 85, 90 to be a worthwhile pick. But I mean, I guess in my old school fantasy brain, right, like if he's priced at 56, I mean, if I was getting 20 points out of him, I would normally be pretty happy. Can you tell me why I shouldn't be? Or
yeah, so this has been something I've kind of done over the last few years, and it's like trained on the last like back to 2014, and what you do is you input the best picks of the year and what they average compared to what they're priced at. It does that automatically. And for Cumming, his worthwhile average comes out at 88.9. So that's just based on what we've seen in the past from like, you should get enough options. So for Cumming to be a really good one, he would need to go at that 88.9. Not all players will reach that worthwhile average, but it's important to realise that like there will always be options that will go well. So that's more where it comes from.
Would that required average, that would change if he did pick up defender status, right? It'd be lower. Yeah,
100%. So it's usually about 3 or 4 points lower. So yeah, midfield. Although the midfielders have been dropping the last few years, that's kind of where it comes from.
I think that's what's going to hurt him. Because I've had him locked away since it opened, and I've been very bullish. But that changes. Like if he's not going to get defender status, I don't know if I want him sitting in the midfield. I don't think he scores enough for that role. But I know he's not training down there, and maybe I'm just being really stubborn here. I still think he will be back there taking kick-ins. I really do. So I guess we'll see in the Pracky match in the next few weeks.
So just to bounce back to that, Jaiden, and because I've been a bit like Jordox, right? Like, but I guess so. What you're saying is that the information that what the system is spitting out, it's telling us that there's more likely to be a better value pick.
Yeah. So for him at his price, the thing you have to think about is we'll get rookies that'll go 60, that'll go 65, that could push 70. So if he's not going 80, why are you paying double the amount of the rookie? So that's kind of where it comes from. The rookies in this system don't spit out very well, but they're not really players you want to keep to the buy anyway, or you want to be trying to get rid of them by then. So, yeah, that's where it comes from, and that's why it does go up pretty steeply in price pretty quickly. But then towards the top end, the players don't really have to improve. Like someone like Tristan Cherry, who went 116 or 114 last year, just needs to repeat that. Marshall could theoretically go 1 point less, and he's still a good pick. So it does flatten out at the top end, but yeah, there's a lot of upside required at the cheaper levels because the rookies are so cheap in comparison.
And jumping back to another player we're talking about, James Peatling. So what's his required? Because he's the other mid, that kind of other, 500 on mid pricer that I've got.
Yeah, so fairly similar, 91. So he's a bit more expensive, but like if you're going as third midfielder, you could probably do that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks. Because that's one of the lines that I've been looking, a lot at, and I've been a bit like Jordox, got a couple of mid prices in there and trying to figure out that midfield mix. So yeah, I really wanted to kind of dig down. Thanks for letting me do that.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, and it's a tough one as well with the mids because there's so many rookies we're talking about that are really good. Obviously, and if a lot of them get names, I've got a couple that in my team aren't in my team that I normally would have in my team. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see with that midfield squeeze in our teams. Final note from the Crows as well. Very, very good note that I was very happy to read as well, that Jordan Dawson was playing predominantly in the midfield, had a stint forward in the second quarter, but the first CBA for the strong team was Dawson, Rankin and Peatling, which is what I believe will be the first three in the CBA to start the season. So just something to watch with Dawson there, but very, very good to hear as someone that's been keen on him. Moving over to Brisbane. So not too much to report. It's been hard to get a few things on Brisbane, but two main things being Kadeem Coleman is looking very unlikely for opening round. I still think even if he played opening round, I'd need a lot higher score than normal because we've done this before. Zach Williams, Wayne Miller, we need guys to have pre-season, especially these value guys coming off serious injuries. So Kadeem Coleman, but he's not looking like he'll play. And I think as Michael Whiting was saying that he could play at any point up to gather round. So that's round 5. That's giving Lions a big window. And we know what they did with Will Ashcroft last year. They eased him in. So something to keep an eye on.
He's had that setback, Bales. So he's actually he's out indefinitely, Coleman. So
he's out indefinitely. Is that okay?
Off.
So indefinitely.
Fantasy,
Okay, cool.
I mean.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, definitely not looking at him. And
then
Levi,
so he's got some swelling in the knee. And his return is unknown. So,
okay, yeah, cool. And then Levi Ashcroft as well is the other one. So he said, chatted to 7 News in Brisbane. He said that he's all good. He's ready to go. He's going to play some of these pracky games. So there was a bit of it. Just I guess depends now. Is he going to be in the best 22 or even 23? Is he the sub for Brisbane? Obviously, it's a pretty tough team to crack into. So something to be watching in the pre-season. Moving to Carlton, so very, very relevant team here. So just a couple of quick notes we'll skim through. Jagger Smith, we'll pretty much lock him in and put it away, dominating in Matt Sim in the stronger midfield. Chera was not there because of his wedding, his own wedding. But Jagger Smith, I think we can all say is going to be there. Then Jack Silvani playing off half-back, cheap forward to be looking at in our forwards, depending on what he can do in the pre-season. But Ollie Hollands, Jordox, was chatting about being... he looks like he's going to be taking that Nick Newman distributing role. And Sam Doherty also mentioned that on the pod, and that also links into Sam Doherty, who on the Southern Sessions podcast that Carlton host said that he can play any position. He might play across all four, but his main two to begin the year will be across, on the wing and in the midfield, and will only go in defence if something has gone wrong, and that was his words. So just firstly on Ollie Hollands, your thoughts on him now with that news of Doherty, and then obviously Doherty as well, if you think he could potentially be that pick still, or if that rules him out, a little similar to it coming.
Yeah, I think the talk around Ollie Hollands is just getting warmer and warmer as the preseason goes on. You know, those who noticed his role at halfback late last year would have had him in their mind, but every week that's passed since the Newman injury, he's been the one that it sounds like he's going to get that role. And at 640K, it's hard to know whether or not to jump on it because, like, I guess it'd be in place of Cumming. Now, having Cumming there, I know that a few years ago in the right role, he was averaging around the 90 mark. Hollands, I don't know what his season's going to be, but I'm pretty keen on him. It's just... I feel like he might be one of those ones for me that I jump on a few rounds in before he gets, if he's looking good. I'd probably rather have a bit of a watch first, but it's very promising for the role. And with Doherty, I don't know. I mean, he'll be okay. Others have been hotter on Doc than me anyway. So yeah, unless he's slotting into the Newman role, it's a pass from me.
Yeah, just with Hollands as well, the only thing that's bad about waiting a week, he's got Richmond round 1, so could get off that big start of half-back. So that's obviously the funny thing with Carlton.
And you have that Thursday night trick. You know, it's like, oh, he's playing tonight. I'm just going to get him. So, yeah, we'll see.
Exactly. Definitely something to be keeping an eye on. And then Sam Walsh as well. Obviously, he's had an interrupted pre-season. Still wasn't in match sim there. I personally, it could be different for anyone out there. You might want to still go there. I'm not going there. Premiums, especially with interrupted pre-seasons, I just don't touch. I'd rather upgrade to them and get someone to had a full pre-season. There are plenty of other mids that have had full pre-seasons, so that's what I'd be doing there. Moving to Collingwood, Tim, something you've been a bit keen on as well. I've been pretty keen as well. Harry Perryman playing midfield role in match sims as well, being alongside Dacos and Pendlebury in the main three in the midfield. Obviously, DeGoey not being there, but maybe DeGoey goes in for Pendlebury. Playing a bit more of a defensive midfield role. That's what we're hearing from Trapwatch at Collingwood. So does the defensive part concern you, or is this just your watch opening round is the cheat code a little bit as well, and you'll see what happens there?
Well, the only problem we've got to watch with opening round is Dan Houston's not in that back line. So look, I've had Harry Perryman in my defence since the game opened, and he's a bit of a tough one, right? Because he's going to be one of these players that we're going to want to watch in opening round. However, it's quite possible that he's not playing the kind of role that he normally plays in opening round, which means a lot of people could get off him. Yeah, look, this is a really tough one. And then, of course, also with the round 3 bye, when you've got Roberts, Mills, Perryman, DeConing, all on that side, that sort of bye, it makes it complicated as well. So, look, I do think he's got that midfield role. I mean, obviously, there's a few questions about how much he's going to score. I mean, I'll throw to Jaiden in a minute and ask him what the worthwhile score that Perryman has to get to make him a good pick. But, yeah, I like him. And but it's going to be hard to see him still in my side come round 1, although I am pretty bullish on him.
The thing with opening round, Tim, is if Perryman is playing midfield, even without Houston, I think that's going to be a really good sign.
Oh, yeah.
And then unless you see Houston playing midfield as well. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting opening round without Houston.
Yeah.
But I like him. Yeah, Jaiden, what's his worthwhile score?
Yeah, so this is where the positional status comes in handy because it's actually the same as Perryman, and it's the same as Peatling, sorry, and it's about 100k difference, so 91. The issue is the early buy, so if you can only cover that with a 50, then that goes up to 93.5 required. So I do like him as an option. I think probably I'll look at him in draft, but yeah, the buy's a bit tricky to navigate.
Especially with a couple of other Sydney guys as well. That definitely one of them we lock in. Another one's a very, very good option as well. And then Nick Dacos back in full training. So any draft coaches and that have obviously got him, all was good. He's looking good and ready to go. I still think Classic just too expensive. Early buy, round 3 as well. I just think that he's an upgrade target with a couple of tags as well in the first 5 weeks, we would assume. But he's going to get tagged every week, so I don't think that's too much of a big deal. Circle back quickly to Carlton as well. Forgot to mention as well about the other note about Mark Pitney coming out and saying that he's looking forward to the dual ruck setup for Carlton this season, and he's happy to be playing a lot forward. So just something to watch. We won't discuss that. Obviously, we'll see that in pracky games because there's probably not much to discuss. But just to watch on Tom de Koning, I guess if Pitney's named, we're not jumping on. But if he's not named, I think we can still potentially go there as well. Essendon, not too much to report here. So just Isaac Kako and Zach Reid look like they're ready to go for round 1. And they'll be playing opening round as well, obviously, which is good. So we get to watch them. That's perfect. They score well. You get the double price increase, and you select them. Sardell Hawley.
Much from Zach Reid, though, do we?
Well, he's been playing as that sort of intercepting tall, and Jordan Ridley's out for a little bit as well. So he might take that third tall intercepting defender role. So might actually score all right to start the season, which will be a watch. But we get the opening round watch anyway, which is very beneficial, especially for someone like him. But yeah, Sardell Hawley, not as much. He played on the wing in the strong side, but it was the opposite wing, didn't get a lot of it. And we've been hearing a lot of reports that's probably saying that guys like Archie Roberts and that are ahead of him in the pecking order. So again, opening round watch, but yeah, make plans for other options in case he's not named there. Moving over to Freo. So just as well, shout out to a friend of ours, obviously from Perth, Taser, for going down to a lot of trainings here. And WA Media have been really, really good as well covering this. Like Footy Rhino, Anna Hay, Ash Nelson's been really, really good. A lot of people covering Freo and West Coast. They've probably been the most two teams I've heard the most about. Brayshaw and Sarong dominating Matt Sim. No surprises with that one there. Neil Rasmus has been good, but still not quite ahead of those established mids, so might not be there, but still someone to be watching. And then Shea Bolton, obviously, we've heard the news. He's calf injury. He's doubtful to be playing an Indigenous All-Star game, and even said he was playing forward in practice game. In match sims in training and everything anyway. So not sure he was a guy we were sort of looking at with a few of the other options. But Sean Darcy, someone asked to chat about Sean Darcy with Luke Jackson. So obviously Darcy's been ruled out for the start of the season. I think that it'll be Reedy, but who put that in the notes? Someone put it in the notes. So whoever wants to chat and put it in, then feel free.
Yeah, I'll put it in there because Baxter has said he's taking Luke Jackson at R2. And I'd probably rather put him in the forward line because he still has the forward status. But I think the main issue is that Freo did roll with the two ruck setup at the end of last year with Liam Reedy. I think he's an option. The issue is like Darcy's surgery came across as if he's like out for the year, but it's really only a clean up in his foot to remove one screw. So he'll probably only be a couple of games, really. It's not anything serious. So you could pick Reedy, but you might need to look to get off him pretty quick because Sean Darcy's pivotal to Freo's chances of making the final this year.
Yeah,
well,
and it's Groundhog Day, isn't it, guys?
Mate, we had this
happened year. 12 months. Yeah, 12 months ago, same thing. And a lot of it started with Jackson in the forward line.
It was horrible.
He was okay, but it wasn't a slam dunk pink. So, yeah, I'd be surprised if me did it, especially with the spectre of Reed hanging over it too.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I'd be agreeing with that as well. Moving to Geelong, not too much to report here as well. But yeah, Sam de Koning has been training in the ruck with Toby Conway is still away after having foot surgery. I think it was July last year. So he's still not training at the moment. So does de Koning take the ruck? Obviously, we get opening round, we get to look at it. He's got the round 3 bye. Obviously, a lot of defenders there. So we're probably going to need to see him as a solo ruck with no Stanley. So just something to be keeping on and put him on your watch list if he wasn't already there. Gold Coast, Sam Flanders back issue since Christmas. So that's not great. I don't know if many of us were starting him anyway because of the opening bye and especially being round 2, but being out for a few weeks as well. It's an interrupted preseason. We know backs as well. Walsh has had it before other players, and they are not really injuries we want to be going anywhere near. So definitely a wait and see there. And then Dan Rioli as well, still in a non-contact hat, and he's still taking in drills and stuff, but no match sim as of yet. Plays opening round, bit of a sort of buzz name with that round 2 bye that a few people were maybe looking at bringing in, and I see someone wanted to discuss him as well. So far away.
Yeah, just looking through the chat, Andrew, question about thoughts on Dan Rioli. I'm pretty keen, but that was before I knew that he was completely out of preseason so far. I'm still keen, and for the reason being that the opening 3 games they play is just ridiculous for transition scoring, and I think a lot of it will go through Rioli if he's assuming he'll be playing, and they've got Noble as well. Like, I just think like Gold Coast could end up like maybe only losing a couple of games in their first 8. Like, they've got a really good fixture, but more importantly, the first 3 opening round, we get a look against Essendon, who are the 5th easiest for transition scoring. They've got Eagles, who are 6th easiest, and then Melbourne, who are the 3rd easiest. And that's not, not top 2 easy for transition, but one of those is Gold Coast. So Rioli can't really get better than that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we know Gold Coast defenders score well. We saw last year Flanders scored really, really well back there. Sexton scored well back there. Powell's had some good games. So there's guys that can score back there. So it's definitely something to be keeping an eye on. But yeah, I think with this injury as well, he's a good one to pivot to in round, especially Tim. We've had this discussion a couple of times even on the phone. If you start 3 of the round 3 bye defenders, you could potentially, that's a play to move one of them in round 3 over to Dan Rioli if he's looking good.
Well, you could even start 4.
Probably too many for me, but
Look, there's a lot of value in some of those players. I mean, look, I know probably 4's going too far, right? But 3, even with Bailey Smith in the forward line. I mean, look, was it Chris last year that did this with Tom Green? You know, shouldn't we be learning off the winner? I mean, okay, yeah, we want to probably stay away from these early round buys, but one of the big takeaways from last year, I think, was that we were protected more than we thought because of we didn't take into consideration how much best 18 would protect us. So people that did run, the gauntlet a bit more, it really kind of paid off. So it is something that I'm considering, is loading up with, a few of those round 3 buy players. But what I'm also looking at doing, this is why I'm also a bit cagey on Zach Reid, is I'm making sure that I'm going to have a really solid bench in my back line. And probably even no rookies on field in the back line. So that's how I'm kind of considering balancing it. But yeah, look, it's, obviously still 4 weeks out, but something to consider.
Yeah. Do you think that the condensed buys puts a bit of a little spanner in that? Obviously, last year we had the buys where it extended to, was it round 6, I believe? So round 1 was the first round, best 22, whereas this year at round 5, it's that case. Does that change to that thing, or do you think it's still...
Well, my initial argument would be there's less risk this year. Like, spread over more time, I would think that's... I'm not sure, actually. I might have to think about that. But yeah, the way I'm kind of initially thinking is because those buy rounds are more condensed, there's less rounds I would have to survive with best 18. So, or less buy rounds to kind of navigate. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm also thinking about it as well.
Yeah, no, definitely something we're going to have to be looking at for sure. Moving over to GWS. So extra special shout out to on Twitter, Aaron Callahan, for sending me these notes here as well, which has been very, very handy. So he spoke to a couple of the players at training and after as well. So the one, DC, if you're listening, mate, you'll be very happy with this. Aaron spoke to Finn Callahan, and there's no relation. I asked about it, both same name, no relation there. But one to watch because apparently said to him he's looking forward to playing full-time midfield this year. So something to watch with Peatling not there and a few changes at GWS. If he's there and playing midfield, we could finally be seeing that breakout there. And he's got that round 2 bye. So maybe he's a guy we wait on, we watch. Well, opening round's probably going to, if he goes 100, 110 plus, we might select him, right? But yeah, something to watch there with him. And then also spoke to Harry Himmelberg, and Harry Himmelberg said that James Leake's one to watch because he's been training as a midfielder, and we've had the traders have spoken about that. Obviously, I know one of Roy's favourites, Leakey. So 230k defender. He's maybe the guy maybe said, Tim, that you jump on that's maybe got that midfield role, can score better. So something definitely to be noting here as well. With Hawthorn, I see it's someone has highlighted this in yellow. James Sicily in the match sim spent time forward and also attended some CDOs, which I thought was very interesting hearing that. But someone did highlight that. So whoever wants to chat about that, feel free to go ahead.
I just left a comment that if someone's asked the question, I'll chuck it in the notes in the order. So if you've got your questions, get them in and we'll chat about them with the team or at the end.
Yeah. Cool. What is there something you want to chat about with Sicily, Jaiden?
No. I had to put a question. Put a comment. So.
Okay. With Sicily though, it's a good idea, Jaiden, because that way we can get through the questions as we're going. So, but with Sicily, I can't remember what I was listening to. It might have been the traders had a chat with a journo and something about Hawthorn that at this stage it is looking like Sicily will be playing defence, but I wouldn't want to take a punt on that. But it sounds like Hawthorn do want him in the back line.
Does the opening round score potentially play into that? Live used to go 110 and play full-time defence. Does that change your thinking, or do you still think that it's obviously game to game and you'd rather wait till post is bye?
I don't know. I just remember, I've got to move on because I think it was 5 years ago, but I just remember having him and they switched him to the forward line in game and his scoring was going backwards, it felt like. Anyway, so not for me.
Fair enough. We'll move to the final 8 teams. But as I said before, we do another sort of special announcement here as well for everyone tuning in, is that we do have a new sponsor. Obviously, Infinite Wealth is one of our sponsors for the pod, but we got a new sponsor jumping on with us this season. And that is the good guys at Game Day Squad. Not good guys. I should have just said Game Day Squad. Game Day Squad are the new sponsors for us, jumping on with us for the 2025 season. So shout out to the boys there for jumping on. So make sure when you do sign up. So if people aren't familiar with Game Day Squad, it's another version to play fantasy. It mixes the best parts of opening footy packs as a kid and then playing FIFA Ultimate Team opening packs and that as well, and combines it all with AFL Fantasy. So you can pack your players, they can score points. They have prizes weekly. And some of the best prizes going around in any of the AFL sort of fantasy prize pools around there. So make sure you use the code BAILSDT. Not too hard to remember. Obviously, it's just my Twitter handle at sign up, and you get free packs. The packs you get are actually worth money. You don't have to pay to play. You can just open the packs they give you every Monday, and that's all you have to do. But if you wish to do that, then you can do that. So make sure you use BAILSDT at sign up and get involved, because it is another very, very good platform. And also, it's got opening round as well and finals. So if you guys want fantasy in opening round and in finals, then make sure you guys get involved with the guys at Game Day Squad. So thank you guys for jumping on with us with that one. We'll continue with the match sim and training notes. Heading over to Melbourne now. So Clayton Oliver has been dominating the pre-season, and David King's been the one that's been going down there and he was saying that he's got his power back and looks to have that. Obviously, he's looking in great shape as well. So I probably not much to talk about, guys, but I just think if he's looking good in the practice game, then he's a lock. He's under 800k for a guy that we know he can go 110. So actually, Jane, I'm interested to see what would his worthwhile average be, because we know he can go a lot more, but worst case, what would his worthwhile average be if we would pick him?
99, which is very doable.
Yeah, exactly. So we've definitely seen that before. So, I really, really like Oliver. Max Gawn back in full training, and Petrarca is close to full training. So both will play in the practice games. But I'm keen to know, Jordox, with the news of DeConing potentially, if we're scared about that, Darcy going down injured, and Flynn sounds like he's still in that battle. Conway's not there. So and Briggs has got the early bye. So a lot of options have gone pale. Briggs is still an option as well. I'm interested in Gawn, and he's currently sitting at my R2 for me. I've gone back to set and forget. I was on there. I was off for a week. I'm back.
Grundy as well.
Do you think it's a play to be going Gawn in the rut to start with Gawn? He's got a couple of early games that are decent in terms of fixtures. So what are your thoughts on starting at Max Gawn?
I don't mind it as starting, but the thing with Gawn is I don't think he's going to play every game this year. And I think Tom Campbell's come across as backup. But if you look at Gawn's season last year, he just looked gassed in that last third of the year. And they just didn't have anyone else to give him a chop out. So now they've got Campbell in there. I'm thinking like a game where maybe they're going up to Perth or a bit of travel, or if they've got a 6-day break, depending how they're going in their season, Melbourne, I really think Gawn might be rested at times this year. So for me, that's a worry, and I probably wouldn't look at it. But if you start with him and he has a hot first 6 weeks and then you get off and you jump onto your Marshall or your Sherry, whatever it is, it could work. But I just think you'll have him all year and then it'll hurt you when he's rested.
The good thing with that is that he has got MCG, Marvel, MCG, GMHBA, first trips Adelaide for Gather Round. I'd imagine he'll to play that. MCG, then Optus in round 8. So you've got 7 weeks.
Yeah.
If worst case he's rested. But the reason I like it is that Marshall, obviously limited preseason, it gives you that breathing space of Gawn's got a few good matchups, can put some good scores. He plays Friday and Thursday night for some of those good ones, VC. Then if worst case, round 8, he's rested, and then Marshall's back fully fit and he's solo right, gives you that breathing space. And then you don't have to worry about the deconing potential dual ruck sub. You don't have to worry about obviously Darcy's ruled out, but Sweet is the other option. You don't have to worry about Briggs early buy. You don't have to worry about it. That's why I do like it. It's something I'm considering. He's currently sitting in my side, but anyone else like Gawn? Tim, Jaiden, anyone here? I know Jaiden, I know your value rucks, but Tim, is any interest for Gawn for you?
Look, I'm actually a bit at sea when it comes to the rucks. So I heard Jaiden talking before about how he's fading Cherry at the moment as well. So I don't know who his value rucks are, but I'm actually quite keen to find out.
I have deconing and I have an empty spot. So that's how I'm going.
so no better than me,
I've got Briggs and Sweet at the moment. Briggs and Sweet. Because that's just where I'm at as well. I'm comfortable with them.
Yeah, this seems to be the issue right now is the rucks. So what? Yeah, so talk us through Briggs and Sweet. What why are you picking them so far, Jordox?
Briggs I like because we touched on this in the rucks episode a couple of weeks ago.
What was happening there? I think George is on a delay, I reckon.
What happened? It's my internet, isn't it?
You'll have to jump back out and back in, I reckon, George, because that was a long delay. I was wondering, it was just like he was having a real long think about that. So we'll see if we get George back up to speed with us. But very, very interesting. George, are you back on to speed with us?
Oh,
no, he's not. He's just dumped in.
Talk us through.
Yeah. So as I said, I like still set and forget. I've been obviously on that. And on Holmes, he did say, once you say it, you've got to do it. So maybe I've just got to go Gawn. But no, I like Gawn and not having to worry about potentially Pitney being there for deconing. Sweet, I still want to see it. I'm still not convinced that there's enough upside. I still think 85, 90 plus is there, but I want to see it. English, abdominal injury, interrupted preseason. I'm not as keen to start with him, but he's someone I'd be watching. Whereas Gawn, I don't see him dropping below a 105 worst case, and I still see him at 110 if he's playing. So I just think that he's a guy that I can have there for the time being. Could be a top 2 ruck, but it gives me the time to look at a Marshall and guys. Actually, what would be Gawn's worthwhile average, Jane? That's the question for you. What would Gawn's worthwhile average be for the year?
It's pretty high. It's probably not, considering the ruck options are a bit tricky this year. So 114. So he actually has to go up a bit, but he was comfortably better than that. For the rest of them, it's, pushing 100. So like we'd probably want TDK to get to 100 this year, priced at close to 90. So that's where a lot of the other ones sit, around about 100. But yeah,
Briggs and Sweet.
Yeah, they're roughly the same price. So Briggs is 104. I guess the main thing is, like, if you're paying, like, it's obviously a big price difference, but like if you're getting a 115 out of Cherry, then that crosses off one spot. So you really need to pick the best out of the other ones for it to be a good pick, because you could get stuck with the wrong one. And then you've got Jordan Sweet pumping 120s every week and you don't have him. So that's kind of where it comes. There'll always be a ruck that'll go well.
So what's the idea behind you fading Cherry?
I just think that he relied too much on one aspect of his game. And I'm not talking about tackles. I'm talking about the stuff he did at stoppages as a whole. So he did 85 points last year at stoppages, and that's like 10 more points than any other player's ever done. So, like, for him to average what he's going to average, just repeat, like, he's probably going to have to do that again unless he gets more involved around the ground, which he could do. That's really the only path for him to improve. Otherwise, I'm just going to look somewhere else.
And you feel like TDK is going to go that 10 points above his price, do you? Even though
if he's number one, that's what he was doing. Like, he was doing 100. So,
but what about with all the talk at the moment with Pitney talking about the mixed rucks, and that's how Carlton are kind of talking about it?
Oh, there's nothing I can really do about it. I'm just leaving him in my team until I see the team sheets. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, or any of us are really supposed to do. Like,
I guess the concern I have with TDK is if he's solo in the first couple of weeks and then they rejig it and Pitney comes in. But you'll be able to jump off of him. But don't know what happened before. I think it's my internet. But just quickly, the Briggs and Sweet I've got there because Briggs is just someone I know that's going to give me 90s for now. And Sweet, I think, has upside. And then we'll see who's going to be the one. Is Marshall going to be all right? Is it going to be Sherry? Is it going to be Gawn? Is Tim English going to bounce back to his, seasons of the year before last? So, I've just got placeholders sitting there that I know will give me 90s for now.
Yeah.
But this is what makes it interesting, right? That's what's good discussion is that Jaiden's on the Value Rucks as well. You're on a different Value Ruck, obviously, in Briggs Jordox. I'm on still set and forget, but I've changed every other day. And then Tim isn't quite sure yet. He's still trying to gather all the information. So it makes it interesting, I think.
I'm still leaning towards having Cherry as R1. And the only reason why I would say, even after all this chat, is because, look, I'm not paying up anywhere else. Anywhere. I'm not even paying up in the midfielders, like for Andrew. So for me, I think that's where I'm like, okay, even if Cherry doesn't, meet his price or something along those lines, maybe just because the complete lack of options, I shouldn't say lack of options, but there's just a lot less options in that ruck line. So I'm still leaning towards Cherry, but 4 weeks to go, right?
Yeah, exactly. Still got plenty of time, still plenty of water to go under the bridge before the season does start. But we will kick on and go through finish off the play notes as well. Just lastly on Melbourne, Harvey Langford looking very, very good and looking very likely, along with Xavier Lindsay playing on a wing. So both are likely to be playing in round one. So watch out for those two as rookies there. North Melbourne, I think we'll wait for people tomorrow to chat more in depth with Luke Parker and Josh Simpkin because head-to-head video, me and Jaiden chatting about those two tomorrow. So if you want in-depth thoughts on that, because obviously with time to get through as well. But Luke Parker looks to be one of those players that's going to fill the George Wardlaw void. And Simpkin's been playing a little bit more forward, but we know that he can play in the midfield. So if you guys want deep discussion on those two, tune into that one there. Caleb Daniel hasn't been the major distributor off of half-back as well. And the words on the article is that they're funneling the ball through Caleb Daniel. So exactly what we want to hear. North Melbourne, we know, is a gold mine for half-back players there. So exactly what we want to be hearing. Finn O'Sullivan looking very good on a wing. So I'm assuming he'll play round one, but could be another rookie midfielder we need to be considering there as well. Because he's been the forgotten guy. A lot of people have been talking about Sam Lawler, Jagger Smith, Levi Ashcroft, Sid Draper, Harvey Langford, a few others. But Finney O'Sullivan's been the one we haven't talked about as much, but someone that I think I've still got my eye on, and I think we do as well. And then Harry Sheezer and Chloe McKercher, it's mixed reports, so they're definitely two we've got to watch in the Pracky games. Harry Sheezer's report has been playing as one of the main midfielders. Then there was another report yesterday that him playing deep forward as well. And then Chloe McKercher's apparently been playing half forward, wing, midfield, and half back. So two guys we need to be watching the Pracky games to see their roles, but yeah, could be different to maybe what we envisioned them doing there. Moving to Port Adelaide, all of Connor Rozee, Zach Butters, and Jace Dawn-Francis playing full-time midfield in Matt Sim. Obviously, we know double the midfielders. They've obviously shout out to Joy DeCina and his brother Matt for going down to the Matt Sim games and sending me the notes via message there. Jaiden, any of the three? Obviously, the three Port guys are probably very relevant for a lot of people. Rozee and Horn-Francis being the particular two. Obviously, Bud's a little bit more expensive. But any of these three guys you are either currently got in your team or looking at putting in your team?
I think Rosie would be the one for me. But yeah, it's just hard to know really based on that. Like they need 6 mids, so and they do have 6 midfielders at the club, so Horn Francis can slot in there. But yeah, I'm just sticking with Rosie for now.
Yep. Horn Francis, Tim, thoughts on him at F1? Obviously, a lot of people are F1, probably R2 and one of the defender slots, and F1 are probably the 3 big sort of talking points about what we're doing. What F1, Horn Francis in the mix, you got him there? What are your thoughts with him?
Yeah, look, I was pretty hot on him for a while there, and I even talked to him last week about, I kind of thought he was up there as probably close to being an F1 and, he might not have a huge amount of value in him, but looks like he's got a little bit. But I think the thing that's happened over the last week is there's been a number of mid forwards that have with value that have kind of shown up. I mean, we're talking about Jack Hutchison from the Eagles. I am keen to talk to you guys about Liam Baker. I seem really hot on him, but I think I might have my blue and yellow goggles on a little bit. But I do see some value there. I faded a little bit on the Hornbag, but I still think he's. I think there's certainly some points of value available there.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely chat about Liam Baker very, very shortly. He's definitely someone people knows him my very first team reveal of the preseason, so I've been pretty keen from the very beginning. So looking forward to seeing what he can do. Josh Sin, obviously, he's been a bit of a buzz name as well as a cheaper defender. Been talked up by a fair few teammates as well, actually. He's had his first full preseason since he's started there, and a lot of people think he could be taking part, maybe not the full Dan Houston role, but part of it. But slight sort of something to watch. He was only running laps during match sim, whether that's just to manage him through to make sure he doesn't have an injury or if there was something there, just something to keep an eye on in the preseason. But he's pretty cheap there if he can go well. Good early run for Port Adelaide as well. And then someone I've probably crossed off, Jordox, I'll be interested to see what you think. But Kane Farrell has only played 1 quarter of match sim in the last couple of weeks, and he's been still nursing through that hamstring niggle. He was fully fit, I think, from what people were saying about a week ago, but then didn't partake in match sim on Friday. So is that, with that injury history that he has had and that he's had an interrupted preseason at this point now, is that just a line through him for you?
Not a line through him. Certainly not what you want to see at this time of the year, but there's still a long way to go. And, they may just be extra conservative with him at this point, extra cautious. So not a line through him, but yeah, you're gonna want to need to see that he's ready to go, and because I still think he's going to be great, and he'll have that increase in role and fantasy points. But need to see that he's healthy before round 1.
Yeah, exactly. And as DJ's putting in there as well, Ratkins has been playing across halfback with Port's injuries and no Houston. So, could we be going back to Roy Atkins potentially to start the season? Who knows?
Hope so. I hope Atkins plays and kills it. And that's, as a Crows fan for Port Adelaide, the amount of crap he copped when he was part of that trade late last year, I'd just love to see him play really well. Anyway.
Yeah,
not relevant.
Exactly. Going over to Richmond, Jaden Short, no surprises, main distributor of halfback. That's obviously exactly what we want to be hearing. But the 2 high draft picks, Sam Lawler, obviously was managed early in the preseason, been looking good, playing in the match sims as well, playing bulk midfield time, has been still spending stints forward as well. So, but still, I think if we see early, he could be someone at 340k we start. Josh Smiley, on the other hand, had a hamstring injury about nearly a fortnight ago, I believe it was, in training. They're managing him through. Still don't quite know if he's going to be playing in the Pracky games or not. So if he's not playing in them, I think that probably puts a line through him. But if he does, he's still someone to keep an eye on. So just to watch this space with him there. St Kilda, this is a little bit to discuss here. So Jack Sinclair, hamstring injury, will be assessed at training this week for how long it will be, but cleared of serious damage. But again, I talked about it before with premiums with these injuries, soft tissues. I'm not sure we want to be having that this close to the season. So, yeah, very, very interesting there with Sinclair. Hopefully he's back in training soon and it's not too bad, but something to be keeping an eye on. But Ari Schoenmaker's apparently been very, very good with his long kick, impressing a lot of people at training in match sim. So he's obviously in the mid 400s, so someone to be keeping an eye on there. And he's cheaper than what he was averaged in the games last year. So someone to be keeping an eye on there. Ross Lyon said that Marshall will definitely be playing in round 1. But Jaiden, for you, is that at 1.2 million? I know you're obviously looking at more value, but even if you were looking at set and forget, is it just crossing off Marshall off the list for you just because of this sort of interruption?
Probably depends if he plays. I don't think he will in the practice games. Like, of any players who you'd want to trust to like go out on the field and give everything for you, I reckon Marshall would probably be one, even if he's a bit injured. So I think like over in draft, if you like have him in your first round draft pick, I think like you could potentially do better, but I'm not too worried. I think, in Classic could be too risky, but we don't have a lot of other options. So you could still go full set and forget if he's playing and just risk it. Yeah.
The 1.2 million price tag, just that does scare me off with a big interruption. But he did have a good early run. So if he plays both Pracky games and looks really, really good, I'd be potentially interested again, but we'll have to see there. Obviously, we know about the Philippou injury from the other day, but that could open up a chance for Hugo Garcia as a low 420k mid forward, I believe. Apparently been playing really well around the ball and on the spread as well. We know he can obviously tackle. Definitely another name to put into the bucket of these 400s and 300k forwards that we're going to be looking at. We're going to be chatting about a few of them in the West Coast section, so I'll save that for after as well. And then Troby Travalia and Max Hall apparently tracking well, and both could be in the mix for round one. So, definitely two names to be keeping on your watch list. Obviously, Travalia's been on ours, but Max Hall is someone to add there as well. Sydney, Callum Mills, we've heard this for about a couple of weeks now, been training full-time in the midfield over the pre-season. Dean Cox even said that they're looking forward to getting their All-Australian midfielder and captain back into the side. So in a tight rotation, it seems like the main four are Isaac Heaney, Chad Warner, James Rowbottom, and Callum Mills as the four, and you'll have Jordans and even a Papley or something like that sort of going through there. But sounds like Mills is a guy there. But Matt Roberts is the other one, still playing off half-back, and he even said on the Traders pod that that's what he's going to be looking at doing. Jordox, can you have, obviously we talked about these round three defenders, obviously opening round will dictate a lot of it, but can you have both?
I think you can. You definitely can. There's so much value in both of them. And it just depends how the rest of your side looks in that week. So the fact that they play for the same team shouldn't put you off. It's just how many of the bye guys you've got and can you squeeze them all in. But I'm really hot on both of them, so I'm finding it hard to split them.
Yeah, I've currently got both in my side as well. I'm pretty keen on those two. Moving to West Coast, so Tim's Eagles. Elijah Hewitt, and Jep's been saying he's been tearing up the track, looking really, really good. 70-30 split looking like at the moment, with obviously in the midfield to forward. And with Elliot Yeo being out injured, that could be opening up a bit of opportunity there for the West Coast midfield. So, Tim, is that just, obviously we get to in the preseason games, but is he locked in for you at the moment at F6?
Yeah. Well, he's locked in that forward line if it's F6.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens with the options, but he seems like he's tearing it up. It seems like he's going to be there.
Yeah. And then we've also got Jack Hutchinson, been playing a midfield wing role, been looking good. Tom, I've shared it, obviously, second overall last year. Coach Upon United was the first one that I saw say his name. And it's been going pretty well in pre-season, along with Ryan Marrick, who's been playing in defence. Jack Graham was also very, very good in Matt Sim playing in the midfield. And then I guess the one you alluded to before, Tim, Liam Baker, Jet was saying was best on ground in that, playing off half back and was everywhere. So firstly, do you want to sort of comment on those Eagles there and what your thoughts are on them? And then we'll chat about Baker obviously after.
Look, I'm a little excited, but at the same time, not getting ahead of myself. We've had some great track watchers down there like Jepper and Taser. We're going based on the information they're giving us, and they're saying that, Jack Hutchinson's been playing a lot of that mid-wing role, and then Marrick's been sort of distributing off that half back, and it looks like he's been given some direction about using that long kick of his as well. So, considering how they're priced, what is Jack Hutchinson's 385 or something like that? Marrick's 4 something. So once again, they're really quite cheap value options in the forward line, but we'll see what happens over the practice matches. I'm not as excited about Graham. I just particularly based on what Jaiden was talking about earlier as well. Like, I imagine being in that midfield, he's the points upside that you need for him to be a decent pick. It's probably got to be considerable there, and I think there's probably just too many other better options. But it's kind of as an Eagles supporter, it's exciting to see some exciting stuff happen there, and see how the year plays out.
The question I have for you, Tim: how many of these Eagles currently sit in your forward line? Is it more or less than 4?
None, actually. No, I've seen a bit of the stuff on Twitter where there's been like eagle all in the forward line. Like I said, I'm even a bit concerned about my view of Liam Baker. I'm pretty hot on him, but I just think it might be my bias coming in. But yeah, we'll see how these practice matches go.
Yeah. Well, Jaiden, what are the worthwhile averages for Baker and for Graham, and what's your thoughts on Baker as an option if he's got this halfback distributing role?
So for Baker, it's a bit hard in the forward line because we've had good forwards over the last decade. Baker, I've got it at 95, pretty high. And Graham is at 89. So I think that potentially a little bit high. I'd probably take a bit less than that. I'm not massively keen on Baker, but Liam Duggan has been playing pretty well midfield. So there's definitely an option there, like from a distributed type role. I'm fairly keen on Jack Graham, just because he's a lot cheaper, probably more than most. And people will say he's never really scored well. He's never had a year where he's had more than 30% CBAs, all the way back to 2017. So this is his first chance to really have a crack. So I think he can have a career year.
Yeah. No, definitely a couple of West Coast names to be putting on our watch list. Jordox, just before we move on to the final team, any thoughts on any of those West Coast guys? You keen on any of them starting them?
Yeah, Jack Graham's been the one that's been in and out for me. He's out at the minute, but I could be convinced before round 1. So, but no, I think the rest has been well covered.
Yeah, cool. We'll move on to the final team there and answer a couple of questions before we wrap up there. So Bulldogs, we heard about this last week. We touched on it a tiny bit with the forward discussion, but Riley Sanders dominated match sim and was best on ground, according to Track Watchers last week. Had over 30 touches and kicked 3 goals. It's exactly what we'll be hearing. Obviously, caveat, Bevo still there. But Josh Gablich even as well was chatting to Warney on the Track Watching podcast that they had, and he said that he reckons Sanders is now 4th in line. He reckons obviously it's Bont, Libba, Ed Richards is the 3. Then it reckons it's Sanders, and he thinks Kennedy's 5th, and Kennedy was playing a bit of forward time in that match sim. So definitely good notes from Josh there. And I think Sanders is, I think a lot of us have got him, and obviously it worked well because he was the exact same price as Matthias Filippo. But I think Sanders is definitely pre-season watching these games, and if he's going well, I think a lot of us will be selecting because he's got that junior pedigree there. Sam Davidson. So we had a question. Obviously, Damon Snell was asking about him a little bit earlier. But yeah, Sam Davidson is looking really, really good. Been training very, very well. And as Damon says here, he said that he's been training between wing and as that third tall. A little bit like Ollie Dempsey sort of last year, is Damon's put in the comparison there, which is really good because we know how good Ollie Dempsey was. So I guess, Jordox, the question is, it's we got a few forward rookies now. We got Elijah Hewitt's there. Isaac Kako's there. We get to watch him in the opening round as well. Dan Curtin, Joe Berry, Caden Cleary plays opening round. Connor Stone, if he's got this halfback role, as a watch as well. And then you add Sam Davidson into the mix. So it's going to be interesting to see. But where are you sort of keen to see what he can do? And do you think that role can potentially be fantasy relevant?
Yeah, I think Davidson's a pretty easy pick. It's sounding very much like he'll be there round 1. And, he'll make a bit of coin early and then you flip him. But it is interesting because it's a lot of those kids are putting their hands up for a spot that you could sort of expand them through your forward line. But it's just so hard when there's so many other guys that are kind of lock and load, like Bailey Smith and Caleb Daniel and even Sanders. So, it's going to be interesting to see who are the right ones to start with. And obviously the coaches that get that right, they'll be well on their way for the season. Yeah,
exactly. Cool. We'll answer just a couple of questions here. So appreciate whoever's putting them in the notes as we're going along, so I don't have to scan through as much. So very much appreciate that. I'm assuming it's Tim because it says the time is on Perth time. So I'm assuming it's Tim. Unless Jordox or Jaiden is currently in Perth at the moment. But yeah, so we got so from Baxter was saying about Luke Trainer from Richmond. Is tracking really well, potential cash cow for us in defence. And yes, I did hear Sarah Black also mention him. So someone definitely to be putting on the watch list with him there. Damon Snell says he's got a couple of questions here. So in terms of rookies, what are the number that we're running in each line? So we'll go around the room here. So Jaden, how many rookies in total? And then I guess what's the split in terms of positional? Or if you need a few seconds, I can go to Jordox next or Tim, whoever's got it first.
I'd probably need like 20 minutes to finish my team, but I'm probably looking at like very few at the moment. And I think the reason for that is just filling with a lot of value picks, but the way it will go towards as we ramp up more towards the end of the preseason of just finding the rookies that will play round one, will have a decent enough role. And then what you can do, you can take out 2 mid prices who are a bit iffy, get a rookie and then get a premium. So it's kind of where I'm at. Not many rooks at the moment, maybe only Jagger Smith on field or maybe a D6, but yeah, I'm hoping to make more decisions as we lock some in.
Yeah. Jordox?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think we do it a lot every year. We have very few, and then they start to put their hands up, and the mid prices we get cold feet with, so we swap it over. I think I've got 2, 2, and 2 at the moment, but yeah, I'm sure that'll change as things
two in
roll on.
defence. 2 in defence. Interesting. I haven't heard many with 2 rookies in defence. So who are the 2 in defence you've got?
I've got Leak and Travalia at the moment.
So Leak's on the field. I don't mind it. So she's on midfield, and he's got the early bye, which would be good. You can loop a few people in the rookie spot. Don't mind it. Tim, how many rookies you got in the field?
So I'm leaning towards none in defence. Like I said, I'm thinking about.
I thought you were about to say none in the thing. I'm just like, geez, you're going full mid-price value.
Look, I'm toying between 2 and 3 in the mids, and I'm toying between 1 and 2 in the forward line. Like depending if we get enough. Well, it looks like there's a fair few forward options as well. So I'm thinking about like fading all these like Bakers and all these other kind of forwards, Hutchinsons, blah blah blah. Maybe just for a rookie in the forward line. So we'll see how we go. But
yeah. I've got the 4. So I've got 1 in defence, 2 in the midfield, and 1 in the forward line. Whether you want to count Hutchinson as a rookie, he's in the 400k. I'm probably going to have someone in that 400k range anyway, but I'll have 4 of the 340k or below. I've played around with 2 and 3 rookies in the midfield. I currently don't have a Lindsay and like a Smiley and a few others. So it's like, that's interesting whether I want them in. Do I go 3? And so that's something I'll work out, but that's currently what I got. But I do like that question from Damon there as well. The other one we didn't actually mention with the West Coast was Clay Hall. I think it was Ryan Daniels said it's been having a pretty consistent preseason training with the midfield group. So we know from last year he played a few games in the sub as well. So someone to keep an eye on at 267k, I believe he is. So, B. James P says, with many buy players putting value, how many is too many at this stage? Tim, obviously you spoke about that before with those defenders. Is that you've got, though, if you have like 3 or 4 in defence, is that, and you've got maybe a Bailey Smith, is that all you've got and you probably wouldn't want any more than that? Or
look, this is what I'm toying with, right? So I guess many of us are considering probably at least 2 in the defence, and then we've got Bailey Smith 3. I mean, I'm looking towards 4 or potentially 5. But that's because I'm looking at really loading up with rookies on the bench. Like I'm thinking about having a full bench of, rookies that are all best 22 that are playing and scoring.
Yep, I like it. What do we got?
That was actually Bales. That was Damon's second question. So I think.
Oh, was it Damon's second
B.
question?
James is the next one.
Okay, correct. Apologies. Yep, I've got that. B. James P's question was thoughts on Tom Powell as a starting pick. So, Jordox, what are your thoughts on Tom Powell potentially? Apparently, he's been the best. Everyone's saying at North Melbourne, been the best at pre-season so far.
The price is a bit. The price is a bit curly, but I'm quite bullish on him.
Unless, can you guys hear him, Jordox? I don't think you can.
Am I here?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear him.
Oh,
okay,
good.
apologies. I'll probably interrupted. I'll jump out. Hang on.
Yes, Tom Powell. The price is a bit, but I am really bullish on him this year. I actually think he's going to be a good pick in drafts, particularly in keeper drafts, keeper leagues. But for Classic, I don't mind it. I really don't. I think he's going to get a more of a midfield role. I just think as a starting pick, there's probably no harm in just having a look first.
Yeah, exactly. He's 807K, so he's quite expensive. The other one obviously has been a buzz name in the preseason. Has been Elijah Sardis as well at Essendon. Apparently looking really good. His kicking's improved as well. So he's a bit cheaper at 600K exactly. So I agree. Probably one you watch around 800K. And if one of those other guys fail, you can jump on and no harm, no foul there, I reckon. So, but apologies to everyone listening. I couldn't hear him. My computer does play up with the hot weather. So apologies for that. Couple more questions before we do wrap up. So Miller a halfback in 2023 is the question from Bexler. So Jordox, guess what do you think?
No, I think it's Miller a halfback, but is he in the 23 is the question, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Oh, yeah. It's not 20.
Yeah. He is in the 23 if he's fit. I just think the Crows will be super cautious because we've seen this so many times. He looks good and he breaks down early in the season. So his best role for the Crows is halfback. So that complicates things for those who are keen on coming. But yeah, it's just whether his body stands up. But I think he's definitely best 23. He's a really good player. I think we've all forgotten because he's been out for so long.
Yeah. I think he'll split his time between wing and halfback, I reckon. So, yeah, I think he'll be good. Not for fantasy, though, but for the Crows. Obviously, Crows fan, I hope he is fully fit and can have a good year. Andrew, it's got the question here. Jaiden, thoughts on Jack Steele? He's one of the ones, obviously, people have been talking about Brayshaw and a Bond and Pelly and a Dawson, a few other guys up there, and then 900 codes. What are your thoughts about Jack Steele, just under 1.1 million?
Yeah, he's quite an interesting one. Like last year, massive improvement and a very good starting pick. Yeah, I'm probably not massively keen, and that's purely because I have a lot of Kilda players already. So I'm kind of hoping that, McRae can go in, steal some of his points, and McRae can go well. And like the thing about Steele is it's quite surprising because we associate him with like being quite a contested player, but a lot of his points actually come around the ground, like getting +6s, which is quite surprising. I don't massively see that continuing because he did have a very big year from a transition point of view. I think he was close to second for midfielders behind Zach Merritt, which is just crazy. Inside midfielders, that is. Like we've got Errol and Flanders and stuff. But yeah, that's quite surprising to me. I think if he's going to be more locked in to the midfield with McRae and stuff, I think he could maybe not need to spread around the ground as much and do everything. So that's probably why I'm not so keen.
Yeah, no, definitely something to watch there. Final two questions. Riley Curry, thoughts on Jordan Sweet? So I think obviously Jordox said he's got him in the side. So Tim, what are your thoughts on Jordan Sweet as an option? Is he someone you're looking at R2?
Yeah, I actually haven't looked into him too much. But I am now starting to consider the Rucks more. But yeah, maybe someone else can talk a bit more about him because I haven't really done any research on him.
Yep. Jaiden, thoughts on, because obviously you don't have Sweet at the moment and you've got DeConing and then an empty slot. Who's Sweet? Maybe someone that fills that spot?
Yeah, so a couple of points on Sweet. I think people are pretty keen based on how he finished the year, like the last maybe 5 games or so. And he did have a very good score in the finals as well. The issue with that is like the finals is a different game. And I think there's maybe 120 or so stoppages in that game where he went well in the finals. So if people are looking at his...
Hawthorn?
Yeah, so if people are looking at his numbers, like just from what he's done recently, I think you need to maybe temper the expectation based on the final scores. He did have a good score in the regular season as well. I suppose like if I'm comparing like Sweet to a TDK is Sweet really only had one game all year where he was a bit like you could say, one game wasn't the best. Like he only played 60% time on ground. TDK had a lot of games last year where Bitnet was in the team. So there's like instant upside if he gets that number one role. Sweet already had the number one role for pretty much all the games he played. So he's probably a fair price. He could just get better just from being in the team, like full preseason there. But Soldo's still a risk. So I kind of put them in the same boat, but TDK had the games, a lot more games where like you could go, okay, well, if that doesn't continue, then there's a lot more upside.
Yep. No, definitely someone to be considering. Final question from Gone Mad as well. Hey guys, love your stuff. So firstly, thank you very much for that, mate. And I'll get each of you to answer this. I only want 3 words: the player, the word and then another player. Right? Out of Oliver, Chera, Baker, Callahan, Will Ashcroft, Peatling, and Hollands, which 2 would you keep? So, Jaiden, which 2 players would you keep rapid fire for this one?
Like for a keeper league, or
no, just to keep in your team, just in the midfield. Which 2 of these would you pick in your team?
I'm keeping Oliver, and I'm also keeping Chera.
Yeah, Jordox.
I would have landed on the same. They're both in my side.
Tim?
I would have said Oliver and Peatling.
Yeah, I'm Oliver and Peatling as well. They're the 2 for me.
But I am a fan of Chera, and I've never been before. So,
yeah, I just want to see. Obviously, we didn't see Matt Sim, obviously, at his wedding, but yeah, definitely someone looking at, especially with that Richmond matchup in round 1. So that'll close us. Plenty of discussion. So thank you very much to everyone that tuned in live and put your questions in. That is very, very much appreciated. So obviously, boys, thanks for jumping on. So Jaiden, mate, where can the people find you on the socials and the website?
Yeah, you can find the site statsbyjaiden.com.au. About to get some stuff up there. I say this every single time, but been pretty busy, so ready to go for more in-season content. So, stick around for that.
Yeah, and tune in as well tomorrow at 5 p.m. It'll be 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time for the head-to-head episode tomorrow with me and Jaiden talking about Luke Parker and Josh Simpkin. Jordox, mate, where can the people find you across the socials and also the podcast?
Yes, so I'm on X at Jordox 2020, but you can also have a look for at Find Keep AFL on X. Finders Keepers, the new podcast I got up and running last week. We had our first episode last Monday, and episode 2 comes out tomorrow, and it's all about the midfielders, the best mids to target in your keeper league redrafts. So, yeah, it's been a fun week, and looking forward to episode 2 getting out there.
Beautiful. Make sure you go and check out and follow Jordox as well. Tim, mate, where can the people find you? And lastly, just a link as well for the Infinite Wealth stuff.
Yeah, so Tim Guest AU on all the socials. But yeah, make sure you get along to the URL. It's infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy for your chance to be the 20th coach in the Content Creators Cup this year. And as an additional bonus, get access to my Master Your Money online program.
Yeah, beautiful. Get around it. You might as well, guys. You can be in the Content Creators Cup. So there you go. So make sure you get around it. You can find me at BAILSDT as well. Make sure you guys, go, as I said before, go sign up to our partners Game Day Squad. Use code BAILSDT to get some free packs at sign up as well, and get involved in other fantasy content if you love fantasy just as much as I do. And you can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans on Twitter. Join our Facebook group as well, AFL Fantasy Fanatics on Facebook. Please answer the questions as always there. If you did watch the video, smash a like on the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can hit 4,000 subscribers. That's our next big goal. And if you listen about the podcast, and could please leave us a 5-star rating and review. That'd be very much appreciated. If you leave a review as well, I might be able to read a couple on the show. But thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week with our rookie episode with Fry, very special guest friend of the show. We're chatting through the rookies and recapping a couple of the match sim games that we're going to be watching next weekend. So have a good week, guys. Enjoy the first games of footy on the next weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl if you're watching NFL as well tomorrow. Hopefully the Eagles get the job done there. But thanks, guys, and we'll catch you guys next podcast. See ya.
See ya.
See ya, boys.